Okay, so now we're going to look at an equation to solve using two different methods. And then we'll talk about what's more preferential and why. So first we're going to use quadratic formula. So same deal as we did in example one. You take the a, the b, and the c, you substitute into the formula, and you simplify it out. This one actually works out because well, it works out in terms of the square root being a perfect square. So square root of 529 is 23. So you actually have to figure out, what are the two solutions? So it's 5/2 and -4/3. They're also going to do the factoring by grouping method, which is where they split up that middle term into -15x and 8x. And then you factor that way and end up with the same answers. So ultimately, which one's better? Well, the answer is not really either. So you get the same answer both ways. So I would say just in that way, as long as you're getting the right answer, not one way is better than the other. It looks like the factoring way was more efficient, but the quadratic formula will work every time. So, I certainly have had students in the past that say, you know what, I don't care. I'm doing quadratic formula for every question because I know it's going to work in the end. And I know if I just start with that, I have enough time to do that. Whereas other students would say, I want to try to do it the fastest way possible. So I'm going to try factoring first. And if that works, that will be faster, but it might not be factorable. And then I'll back up. My backup will be to use quadratic formula. So it really depends on your personal preference. There is not a right answer as to like which one you should do. But ultimately, this example is showing you a question that does both ways, and then you choose how you want to approach it, because there is not a right or wrong answer for that, which that statement in and of itself may be frustrating for some of you where you want to just be told what to do. So if you really want me to tell you what to do, you can jump in a breakout room and I'll just tell you which way to do it. But ultimately, it doesn't matter. So as long as you're getting the right answer, that's also important. So pause it here. And I'm going to work it out both ways. When I say both ways, I'm not doing that factoring by grouping method. I'm going to do Mudd's method. So I'm going to do quadratic formula and Mudd's method. And then we can kind of compare. All right, so I did it two different ways. A little messy, so hopefully I'll talk you through it. Regardless, the answer is going to be -5/3 and 3/2. With quadratic formula, I did it in purple. 361, took the square root of that and got 19. Then the opposite of b would be -1 plus or minus that discriminant 19 all over 2a, which is 12. And then you sort of split it into two fractions because it was the perfect square there, so you can get 12, which is 3/2, and then -20/12, which is -5/3. By doing it Mudd's method, I did that in orange. Take the 6, multiply it over to the -15, get -9. Then you can unfoil that, get x plus 10 and x minus 9. You put the 6 back on. Then you divide out a common factor. So with 6x plus 10, you can divide a 2. With 6x minus 9, you can divide a 3. You end up with 3x plus 5 and 2x. Set those each equal to 0 separately. And then when you solve, you get the same -5/3 and 3/2. All right. Again, both methods are okay. You understand if you wanted to say, I'm not even going to bother to try factoring. I'm just going to do quadratic formula because I know that's going to work. Factoring is faster, but the risk you run is if it's not a factorable equation, then you just wasted your time factoring when you could have just been doing the quadratic formula anyway. But in theory, you could get it done faster if it is factorable. And again, I understand both sides of it. You can do what makes sense for you. Okay. Let me know if you have any other questions, and we'll look at the next example.